Hanania, thank you so much for taking the time to be with me today and discuss prayer and favor.
First of all, it's wonderful to be here with you. And I have to say, it's such a big blessing for me because growing up as an Israeli, I never, in my wildest thoughts, ever imagined that I would serve the Prime Minister of Israel. So I remember actually growing up, I would always look up to him, seeing him on television. And, you know, growing up, I used to be very shy. So for me, sitting here, talking to you, that was the opposite of my nature.
Natural tendency.
Exactly. And that's why I said, you know, God has such an incredible sense of humor. But, you know, I have to say, when I understood my calling, all I had to do is to answer. You know, when that was God's mission for my life, all I have to do is answer and trust, answer yes, and trust that He will provide me with the tools, the right tools, to fulfill this mission.
Amen.
To make a long story short, I started filming videos about Israel. It was after the Protective Edge operation, the Gaza war in 2014. And I remember raging inside of me.
Now, at that time, you were in high school?
No, I was
in the Army?
In the Army, exactly. I was in the Armored Corps. They sent us into the Gaza Strip, and we were given strict commands. You are not going to target civilians. This is the objectives: to destroy Hamas tunnels, Hamas infrastructure. And once we got back, so when you're in the Gaza Strip, you actually don't have any communication to the outside world. But when you return to Israel, you get your phone, and what's the first thing that a Jewish soldier does when they get their phone back? You call your mother. So I called my mom, and I calmed her down. Next thing I did, I checked the news, and I see that they're vilifying us. They're calling us war criminals, you know, burning the flag of Israel. And I was raging in my heart. And I don't know if it's a very spiritual thing, but, you know, it's a very Israeli thing. And I decided to make a change. And I started making videos about Israel. And it got the attention of the advisors around the Prime Minister, because I asked them if I can interview the Prime Minister. I just sent them a message on Facebook, the simplest thing, and introduced myself, and they said, hey, actually, we follow what you're doing, and let's book an interview with the Prime Minister. Now, in Israel, when you say let's book an interview, we don't mean right now. It's like 7 months from now, you know, the Israeli time. So what I have to say is that it's very interesting how we made the interview happen, and after I interviewed the Prime Minister, they offered me the job, and now I work for the Prime Minister.
Something very inspirational that we see in the book of Nehemiah is that once he knew what God has called him to do, to leave the palace and go to Jerusalem, you know, this deserted place, and build the city wall, he couldn't just tell the king, I'm quitting, you know, see you in Jerusalem. That he couldn't do that. And so for 4 months, he was praying. He called some others around him to pray with him at some point. He prayed and he waited for the right opportunity to speak with the king and tell him what he wanted. And the opportunity presented itself. The king asked him, so what are you asking? And Nehemiah didn't start mumbling. He just gave the king a list. Boom, 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 boom. And the king gave him everything because it was prepared in a lot of prayer. Did you have a similar experience, something you can share with us?
It's so inspiring. You know, the book of Nehemiah, and you see so many similar stories, like, you know, in the book of Esther, Queen Esther. And one thing they have in common is the boldness that I believe stems from our faith in God.
And knowing who you are in God.
Exactly. You know, that's something that really pushed me in my service with the Prime Minister or other stuff. It's because I understand that at the end of the day, I report to God, not to people. So why should I fear people? And I want to believe that Nehemiah, he had the same or similar moment, that he understands that, hey, I'm in this pivotal time in the Jewish history. We need to rebuild. We need to restore. Time of restoration. There's no time for mumbling, no time for overthinking. And Erez, I have to say, the God of Israel is not history. I know we read about it in the Bible, but at the end of the day, He is alive. And I believe that seeing Israel today, it's the greatest proof that God is alive and He's faithful to His promises.
Amen. And He has a plan, and He will see this plan through for all peoples. Well, thank you, Hanania. It's been absolutely fascinating, and I really thank you for your time. And for you, our viewers, I pray for you that you will know the place that you have before God, that you will spend time in prayer, and when He calls you, you will say, yes, here I am. Each one of you, you may not stand before kings or prime ministers, but each one of you have a place of influence, and I'm praying that for you.